How's it going, guys? And hey, happy 2016! We certainly had quite an interesting selection of games last year, with some long-awaited releases, as well as a few new IPs that may have raised some eyebrows amongst us. And even though I got my hands on quite a few of these games, there's still so many great ones that I missed out on that I didn't feel right making a Best Games of 2015 list for you all. However, it turns out all you really need for a top 10 games to look forward to list are a few cinematic trailers, some gameplay footage that may or may not be true towards the end, a few interviews where they throw out buzzwords to make the game sound more revolutionary, and a slight dash of bias to top it off with. And just to clarify, I won't be listing games I think are highly likely to not be coming out this year, despite my enthusiastic anticipation for them. Number 10. Time to break the ice to you people. I sadly have never played any of the Persona games before, which is weird considering I thought I had played all the best RPGs to come out of the PlayStation 2 before I moved on to the eventual PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Although I will admit, part of my ignorance for the series probably came from the fact that it just kind of looked like another game adopting the ever-increasing anime explosion at the time. So even though I heard a lot of people talk very positively about this series, I still didn't really expect myself to be getting excited for any of these games anytime soon. However, after watching the trailers to Persona 5, my interest has stepped up a little bit. A big part of this is probably the style of the game that seems to stick out quite a bit, similar to shows like Cowboy Bebop and Bacano. I still don't know what you label this kind of style as, but it certainly makes anime seem much more open to me. I will say that I haven't really gotten to see what the gameplay is truly like, and as I mentioned, I have no prior history with any of the previous games, so besides its style and the fact that it looks to be both fun and zany, I can't really say much else. I know that it doesn't seem like much to go on, but getting the chance to play a Persona game on a current gen console makes me want to see what all the buzz is about. Number 9. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, while I did find Mirror's Edge to be a very original game, as well as a very beautiful one at that, it kind of wore me out towards the end, which sadly left a bit of a bad taste in my mouth. But surprisingly, after getting to see the much awaited sequel / reboot in action, I was actually swayed over. I can't say much about why I feel more positively about this franchise, but there's just a lot of things that seem to have improved greatly in my eyes. For instance, the free running looks to be a lot smoother than it was before, which my stomach greatly appreciates, by the way. Another thing I'm thankful for is that they've added a lot more colours to their design catalogue. I understand that many would say the overuse of key colours in the last game gave it a very original style that stuck out from other games, but it all kind of just wore thin for me after a while. There's one thing that's made clear is that DICE always gives it an A game when it comes to graphics. Let's just hope they can follow up with the gameplay and that this game can give Mirror's Edge the second chance it needs. Number 8. Over the past few years, we've had a slew of indie games receive much recognition from the video game community. One such type of indie game that I happen to be fond of are some of the more interactive first-person games such as Gone Home and The Stanley Parable. So my next pick goes to a game that seems to continue the interactive trend, but also manages to craft a well-detailed story around itself as well. At first glance, with a title like Firewatch, one was expected to be like one of those simulation games that are shoved out each year, but after seeing a few demos, there seems to be a lot to this game. For instance, the relationship between you and your female co-worker looks to be an interesting part of the game, as well as a mystery that seems to build up as the game moves forward. I don't think I need to mention how beautiful this game also looks. The use of colours really helps to set the mood of the location, similar to Journey. It might not be the biggest game on this list, but I believe it could actually turn out to be the most memorable of them all.
There are some things you can't prevent. So just stay in your tower, okay? Stay in there and watch.
Number 7. It does make me a little sad that I can't say I've been with video games near the start, and because of this, I feel I may not be able to appreciate some of the gameplay mechanics that have been with us since the start. That being said, there are a few 80s games that I still do consider to be very fun, even through the eyes of a 90s kid like myself, and the Mega Man series happens to be one of them, which sadly, like many classics, have not had much of a chance to adjust to the gaming culture of today, unless you happen to be Super Mario Bros. Or Zelda. Thankfully, creativity is a beast that simply cannot be tamed, and Mega Man creator Keiji Inafune sure seems ready to make a comeback with his Kickstarter game, Mighty No. 9. For myself, and I'm sure many others, this game looks like the much needed Mega Man game we've been asking for ages from Capcom, who probably has Mega Man right now shoveling coal in their basement. It also looks to be another example next to Shovel Knight this type of old school game design can still hold up today. Sadly, unlike other games on this list, many feel like we've seen too much of it by this point, and I somewhat agree. Also, while a wide release on multiple platforms is a nice idea so no one has to feel left out, it kind of feels like some parts may have been downgraded so as to fit on the tiny screens of the 3DS and Vita. Aside those small complaints, I still really look forward to seeing what this game brings. The gameplay looks to be fast and action-packed, the locations all seem to be well designed, both in the foreground and the background, and the extra inclusions looks to hopefully change up the gameplay quite a bit for multiple playthroughs. Only time will tell, which apparently won't be that long for us all. Number 6. There are many games that come with a slow burn, and Quantum Break is one of them for me. I don't think it helped it was announced on one of the driest console announcements of all time, and not the much more superior press conference a few weeks later. That being said, many got excited for this game when it was first announced, as it was being developed by Remedy Entertainment, a studio whose work I have sadly not gotten to see up close with hits like Alan Wake and Max Payne's 1 and 2. But it's clear that the studio has gained quite a reputation for its use of visually stunning effects and how they've been incorporated into the gameplay, and from the looks of Quantum Break, that trend isn't breaking anytime soon. What seems to work about this game is that it looks to take the third-person cover shooting mechanics we've seen over the last 8 years, but have added a collection of time-based abilities at your disposal. And even though fights against normal foes look to be a bit easy, at least in the demos, the fights against those that have also got time-based abilities look like they could lead to some pretty tense fights. Story also looks to take a very different approach by also including live action parts after each of the game's episodes, that apparently are each filmed to match the decisions made throughout the game. I literally have no idea how this will turn out. While I'm not a big fan of TV-like storytelling used in video games, something about all this and the way that Remedy has planned everything out could change my opinion on the matter. Although with that said, as I have seen many times before, time travel and an overly complicated plot go as well as bobsledding off Mount Everest. Please, try not to make my head explode with confusion, guys. Number 5. 2016 has not only a lot of games I'm looking forward to, but also a ton of films, and one that I have high hopes for is the Ratchet and Clank movie. When the first trailer for the film dropped, I said this is it. This is the one that could finally prove that video games could actually be good films. What's more is that they announced that this film will be a retelling of the story from the first game, with some plot points moved around obviously, and Insomniac would be also creating a fully developed game to go with it. To give it a backstory between me and Ratchet and Clank, one of my favourite gaming gifts was getting a copy of the original Ratchet and Clank, along with a PlayStation 2 for my 9th birthday, and to this day it still stands as a classic nostalgia game of mine. So with me bearing in mind that we're going to get a remake of the first entry to this series that manages to completely update the cartoonish graphics while still retaining the original designs of the locations and the enemies, along with some new cool weapons and gameplay segments, kind of makes me pretty happy, I have to say. Also, if you happen to have a bit of a history with the series like myself, stay tuned towards the coming months as I'll likely have a deep discussion on them both, as well as some more Ratchet and Clank stuff.
Now, how about one of those epic logos? That's the stuff.
Number 4. I don't really think I can say that much on what to expect from the next entry to the Legend of Zelda franchise. Hell, I can't even make any predictions based on the subtitle of the game because Nintendo has been that tight-lipped with it. Gee, if only a developer could announce a much-awaited game and announce shortly after that the game would be coming out in about, say, 6, maybe 5 months, and then, you know, comes out pretty much finished or roughly finished. Maybe? Just saying. So yeah, besides one 30-second trailer and a small off-screen demo, we don't have much from the plots, the world, the items, the characters, or even much about the controls either. What we do seem to have is ambition, as producer E.G. Amora has claimed the game will be breaking off from the typical Zelda structure formed over the past 20 years, and will instead follow a more open approach as seen in Link Between Worlds, with design choices like letting you explore all of Hyrule at the start and allowing you to pick out which dungeons you'd like to visit in which order. I still feel like I need to see more important locations and a feel to really see the limits this game can be pushed to, but I have a good feeling this is just Nintendo keeping everything under wrap. And yes, I will admit, part of my hype for this game does come from the huge shadow that has been cast by this franchise, but getting the chance to roam the lands of Hyrule and mastering the many puzzles and enemies just makes me giddy inside, even if it is a Zelda game that I'm not a particular fan of. There's something just very right about what they've talked about so far. Just maybe next time make the trailer 40 seconds long, then I'll know we're headed straight for gold. Number 3. At the 2015 E3 press conference, the gaming gods performed 3 miracles in front of us all. First, they told us our wishes for a Final Fantasy VII remake would in fact become a reality. Second, the believed to be lost Shenmue series would be given a chance to return with Shenmue 3. And third, the long lost and almost forgotten The Last Guardian would be finished in 2016. To say this game's development has been moving at a snail-like pace would kind of feel like a compliment at this point. From its announcement in 2007 to its hopeful release later in 2016, Naughty Dog would have released 4 Uncharted games and The Last of Us in The Last Guardian's entire development cycle. Many of us were sold on the game since the beginning, mostly from all the great work from Fumito Ueda and his team with Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. The Last Guardian, since its first trailer, again back in 2007, showed us another world that would explore emotions we likely would never have felt yet in games. That being said, many developers have also explored emotional connection between the player and the game in the past 8 years, such as To the Moon and Brothers: A Tale of Two Souls. So as to whether it can still leave us stunned at the end is hard to say. In terms of the gameplay shown last year, we saw that the interaction between the boy and his griffin was going to work hand in hand, with both working to help the other out. And despite there not being a huge difference from when we saw it before E3 of last year, the game still looks great and still has a haunting atmosphere that I know I'm just going to stare at for ages. Will it live up to the hype? I don't know, but that doesn't mean I can't be excited. Unless it's pushed back, in which case I may as well just make the game myself. Number 2. Like The Last Guardian, Final Fantasy XV, or Final Fantasy XIII Versus as it was confusingly named, has been in some serious development hell. It also doesn't help that many have started to have doubts in the direction the franchise has taken in the last few years. And while Final Fantasy XII is nowhere near a bad game in my eyes, and Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn has proven to be a very competent MMO, turning Final Fantasy XIII into a trilogy, as well as the disaster that was the original Final Fantasy XIV, made people wonder whether the franchise may be on its last legs. With that said, however, I can't lie about how much I'm still looking forward to playing Final Fantasy XV, and I didn't even get a chance to play on the preview that came with Type 0. The comet this time has been given a much more hack and slash design, similar to Kingdom Hearts, but could end up also adding a layer of strategy with the use of different weapons and working with your teammates. The world also looks different from most other games to the series, with a combination of modern reality with the fantasy themes being thrown around in parts. I am worried about how open these landscapes will be. With any luck, they made this way for some pretty huge fights to come, but we'll just have to wait and see if this is in fact the case. Also, shout out to what looks to be another great soundtrack by Yoko Shimomura, who continues to blow me away with the music she produces. From what I found out, we should be finding out a lot more about this game in the next few months, so maybe my prayers will be answered. We can only trust that we're headed for a non-stop train of fun. Number 1. As I said, there will be a bit of bias, and true to my word, I give you Uncharted 4: A Thief's End as my number 1 pick. I'm going to give it to you straight, Naughty Dog has continued to impress me since I first started playing video games back with Crash Bandicoot. This game has already sold me that I just want to block out all information about it until I get my hands on it. From its astonishing set pieces to its humorous and heartwarming dialogue to knowing where we will end up in Nathan Drake's supposedly last adventure. The game is beyond gorgeous, with beautiful foliage and interactive scenery for you to navigate through. The game has also added more to the gameplay by adding in better stealth options, as well as a new grappling hook that I know is going to lead to some even cooler scenes that I've seen before. The plot this time around looks to focus on the relationship between Nathan Drake and his thought-to-be-lost brother and their search for lost pirate treasure, which I'm sure, when it comes to pirates, I'm not the only one who's a sucker for. And along with many other great staples that have defined the franchise, what else is there I can say? This year looks to be kicking some real arse, and that's not just with the games on this list. There are many more that I want to get my hands on and I could talk about in front of you guys, but I won't torture you anymore. My name is the Hot Cost Gamer, and let's get this year going, guys.